Gentlemen, I'll be brief to answer Senator Knott's question. I'll be maybe 10 minutes. I'll try to move very quickly. I have great respect for Senator Grooms. He has a lot of passion. He wants what's best for South Carolina. He's done a lot of great work for the Port of Charleston. And I understand his anger about what DHEC did. I share that anger. But he's misplacing that anger and misdirecting it now toward an entity, the JPO, that has nothing whatsoever to do with Savannah Harbor deepening, has nothing whatsoever to do where dredge spoil goes. It has been chartered or has been contractually obligated between the two ports authorities to plan this Jasper Port. That's all it can do, and that's all that it is doing. Now, I wrote down 9 or 10 misstatements that Senator Grooms made, and I want to go through those quickly and then get to my argument, which I'll also go through quickly. First of all, he says that there are only 2 individuals on the JPO that are statutorily obligated to expeditiously develop a port. That's not true. The permanent law passed by this General Assembly 3 years ago directs the Ports Authority as an entity to expeditiously develop the port in accordance with this intergovernmental agreement. It doesn't direct any individual, it directs an entity. And it tells that South Carolina State Ports Authority expeditiously develop this port in accordance with this intergovernmental agreement that it's referenced by date. So we have already gone ahead as a General Assembly and told the Ports Authority, this is what you shall do. What we're talking about doing now is materially altering the terms of a contract. Senator Campson, you indicated earlier that perhaps this is a subjective funding situation, or perhaps this is a situation where an entity or an agency is charged to do something, but money has to come. It doesn't work that way when an entity has contractually obligated itself to a third party. I mean, if, for instance, the South Carolina State Ports Authority every day obligates itself to pay monies, every day obligates itself to service debt, issues bonds, makes bond payments. Those are contractual obligations that are not subject to funding. Those are obligations they can be sued for, and there's nothing this General Assembly can come in and do to modify that contract because we're not happy with the deal that they cut. We just can't do that. You cannot modify the terms of this contract by a statute, and that's what this is. It is a contract between 2 parties that sets forth very clearly a governing structure that intentionally said that there be 2 members appointed by the Ports Authority of Georgia, 2 members appointed by the Ports Authority of South Carolina, and 1 by the governor of each state. That was on purpose because it was recognized by the Ports Authorities. It was recognized at the time when we started moving forward with Jasper Port that both the Georgia Ports Authority and the South Carolina State Ports Authority were going to be parochial in regard to their interests, and they may not be motivated to help a third-party port proceed. And so this was intentional that we had the governor of each state appoint a party. That was a material condition of the contract, and that was one of the reasons why the Georgia Department of Transportation, which owns this land, agreed, pursuant to this intergovernmental agreement, to convey the real property. That's a material term. This JPO organization, with the governing structure and the voting structure, is a material part of this contract. And if we as a state, by law, try to reach in and modify the terms of a contract, we are going to be sued. And Senator Leatherman, Senator Florence, we're not going to be sued on a declaratory judgment basis, which is where we are now. We're going to be sued on a material default basis, which under this intergovernmental agreement would give the Georgia Department of Transportation a right of repurchase of this asset. We have dumped in $6–7 million the last 5–6 years planning this. And I guarantee you, and the reason I came back here from my vacation is so I can say this to you and put it into the record that sure as I'm standing here, there's going to be a lawsuit filed for material breach, and they're going to win because they're right. Because Georgia legislature can't step in and modify that contract, neither can the South Carolina State legislature step in and modify that contract. All it would take is 1 member, and that member has been very much maligned. And so what I did is I put on your desk the curriculum vitae of Bill Bethea. I won't go through it in detail, but I don't think anybody in the state of South Carolina has a better record of service to this state than Bill Bethea does. And I see the senator from Dorchester nodding his head back there. This man is honorable. This man has worked without pay tirelessly for 5 years. This man served in the Marine Corps, senator from Richland. He's decorated war hero. Bill Bethea needs no defending from me, but I feel like since he can't speak for himself, I am going to speak for him. And to have him maligned by saying he's betrayed his state and thrown over with Georgia is not fair and not true. The next thing I'll say is this opportunity plan that really set off this thing in motion. You know what the opportunity plan says? Right now, there is a perpetual spoil easement on the Jasper Port site. It's on the whole 10,000 acres out there. There's 10,000 acres that the Georgia Department of Transportation, or the Corps of Engineers has, to dump spoil on that site. Unilaterally, in any way it wants to, it has that right. It's a property right. They have that. All this opportunity plan says is, if you dump on the Jasper Port site, we don't want that poisonous soil in there. We don't want that cadmium. We want something that can be built upon. That's the only thing it did. It didn't obligate the expenditure of any money. It didn't obligate the expenditure of any sort of detrimental action that would hurt the Port of Charleston and Shep. It simply said that, okay, Georgia Ports Authority, you have the right, and the Corps of Engineers, you have the right to take all the spoil you want on the Jasper site. You've got that now by easement. And the only thing the opportunity plan says is, if you do it, we want you to put good spoil on there. And that enraged them to come forward with this. Now, if you're really for a Jasper Port, why would an opportunity plan that says, even though you have the unilateral right to dump whatever spoil you want, you're now going to just do good spoil, why would that enrage you? Why would that set you off? And if Bill Bethea and 3 members of the Georgia delegation decide that certain planning things are needed for that Jasper Port, and the Georgia and the Secretary of State Ports Authority says no, you have put this Ports Authority in a breach context. And let me tell you this, we may be in court right now under a declaratory judgment to try to sort some authority out. It's entirely different to be in court when you're alleged to have materially breached a contract and an aggrieved party is seeking a remedy that involves the taking of this dirt back. And the Georgia Ports Authority has already said that. They've already said that. They said, we get it. You guys really don't want this Jasper Port. That's fine. We'll take our dirt back. We'll take our dirt back. We have that right of repurchase. If you don't want to build it, that's fine. And with all due respect to the good work that the senator from Berkeley has done, the senator from Jasper and myself have worked tirelessly on this for a lot longer. It affects our region much more directly. And I would not be flying back here 19 hours in the air to get this thing done if I didn't believe it was absolutely critical for the Jasper Port.